Hi folks. The question, what is consciousness, is that actually answerable? I would say no. You see, there are people in the scientific camp who take the stance that we don't know what consciousness is, but we will one day. But that strikes me as wrong. Because I can see that it's not just like a component of the brain. When we understand things scientifically, we're going down a path of reductive materialism. In other words, you can look at the body and break it down into molecules, into atoms, into subatomic particles, and you can see how all these building blocks become eventually the body. You can do that with anything of a physical nature. So consciousness, if there is to be a scientific explanation for consciousness, it has to be one that is reductive in nature. So you're going to have to end up saying something like consciousness is a subatomic particle, which doesn't feel right at all, because everything about it has to reduce to subatomic particles. The explanation for consciousness in a materialistic sense isn't going to be found in how the building blocks go together. The explanation is found in the building blocks themselves. You know what I mean? But we haven't found it. And does it really feel right to say that consciousness is reducible to some tiny little undiscovered subatomic particle? It just feels like the wrong explanation. There's a whole internal world of experience here that we don't know what it is. We don't know why matter does this. And there are people who are scientifically inclined who tend to just sort of take the attitude, consciousness, oh, no big deal, never mind that. Whereas I'm going, hold on a minute, just look at this. Consciousness is. If consciousness and the universe, if it were all explainable in terms of materialism, we should be just automatons. We should just be like these organic robots that are going along, going through the motions of something without any actual observer inside the organism doing anything. What is the observer? It's there, but we can't pin it down. We can't understand it at all. And that's why, you know, when people say I think artificial intelligence is maybe just around the corner, I'm thinking, no. That's kind of presupposing that we actually know something about what consciousness is, and we just don't. Yeah, we know about the brain, and we know that certain parts of the brain perform certain functions. That's fine, but I'm talking about the actual experience of being and observing consciousness, of being awareness itself. The principle of awareness, not the contents of the mind. Who is it that is having this experience of mind? That's the big mystery. So I don't know how you could get that to work inside a microchip. I don't know how you would do that at all, because I don't think it's a little component sitting in there. It's something altogether different, because we just haven't found it in that fashion. And we can't understand it in that fashion. So I have a real simple thought to share with you that is not a scientific thought. It's more just an intuitive one. And I don't think I made this up. I'm pretty sure I read this somewhere, but I can't remember where. It might have came from Buddhism or something, I don't know. But I've been thinking about it lately, and I think it's as good a thought as any when contemplating consciousness. Here's the thought. Ask yourself the question, why can the eye not see itself? Why can the eye not see the eye? Now you might be thinking about mirrors. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. If you reach out and you punch the mirror, are you punching your eye? No. You're not really seeing your eye in a mirror, you're seeing a reflected image. You know, you're actually focusing, let's say if you're half a meter from the mirror, you're actually focusing 1 meter from yourself, which is not where you're standing. You know what I mean? You're focusing double the distance. The eye cannot see itself. There is absolutely no way that this eye can see itself. Why is that? And it's not a trick question. The simple answer is the eye cannot see itself because the eye is the thing that is doing the seeing. Okay? The eye is the thing from which sight springs. So, by analogy to that, why can consciousness not understand itself? The answer is the same one. Consciousness can't understand itself because consciousness is the thing that does the understanding. Consciousness is the ground from which understanding of everything springs. You see? It's the mystery at the heart of everything else. I mean, it really is at the heart of existence, I think. And yet, the general climate of science today is that we will reach a theory of everything purely through reductive materialism. We'll use the 4 fundamental forces of nature and the 12 fundamental particles, or whatever they are, to explain everything except consciousness. Here it is. It's right here. You feel it. It's the most fundamental thing that you know about existence. Think about it. You don't even know the nature of the world outside your eyes. We tend to assume that it's three-dimensionally solid, but we know, even from our science, that that's not the case. You're just seeing the world outside yourself in a certain way. And a good example of that is to think about a flower. You imagine a flower in your garden and you're looking at it and you'll say to yourself, that's exactly how that flower looks. You turn away from it and you assume that the flower still looks exactly the same as it looked when you were looking at it. But then a bee comes along and it sees the flower and it lands on it. The flower does not look the same as it looked when you saw it, because the bee can see ultraviolet light. So the bee picks up the pollen or the nectar and off it flies to somewhere else. So what does that flower really look like? Does it look like the way you saw it, or does it look like the way the bee saw it? Neither, of course. And if we were to talk about quantum physics and everything, we'd probably end up viewing reality as some kind of fuzzy field that isn't even really localized in the way of solid objects, kind of like a hologram of sorts. So your eyes aren't even really giving you accurate information about the world outside you. And yet the one thing that you still know above all others is that you are real. You, the observer, the observing consciousness. And you don't know what you are, but you're real. And you don't know what you are because you're the ground from which all knowledge and understanding springs. So, this is why I don't think we're ever going to understand consciousness. Maybe a little bit of an abstract reason, but sometimes that's the nature of the beast. Okay. Take care, folks.